All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, still, and it's beautiful today here in North Carolina, getting nicer.
It is. It's getting warm. It's man, getting that itch to play some baseball. It's warming up. Yeah, we're coming up on the Super Bowl. But Brian, when you start getting the warmer weather, I know you mentioned me. You were watching the MLB Network, watching some of the Caribbean. Do you call it Caribbean or Caribbean?
I call it Caribbean, and the tournament starts Friday. And it's almost like my body knew, like when we were in college, games started this upcoming weekend. It's almost like, and even if you're playing pro baseball, you kind of are getting ready to go to spring training. It's like my body knew that, hey, it's time, to start doing some, it's time to start putting it for real. And so it's just weird how your body, even though it's been 20 years since I've done anything athletically, it still gets to that point where it's like, all right, it's time, right, to do something different.
You're still coaching now and still teaching your son and kids and the kids we coach. It's getting to be there. So with that all on the brain and on the mind, Brian and I are going to try to do something a little different today. So there's a game out there called Immaculate Grid. So it's it started off as just a baseball type game, but then it's devolved into, they've added basketball and women's basketball and football and hockey and soccer. And I typically do this game every day. I'll do the baseball. I'll try the basketball and football. And I'm usually okay, but I'm a lot better at the baseball. So the way this game works is it's a 9-block grid. Across the top are either teams or categories. And then along the left side are also teams or categories. And then so just like a grid, you have to go and look at which one. And then so, for example, if the top grid says San Francisco and the left side says Cleveland, you would go to that block and decide who is a player that played for both Cleveland and San Francisco.
Right.
Or if the category was Cleveland and 2,000 hits career. So they don't have to spend their whole career there, but just have spent a year or some time with that organization. So we're going to use a random number generator because they've been doing this for over 600 days now. And we're going to use a random number generator, and we're going to go back and just pick a random grid from the past. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to try to score a perfect 9 for 9. And then we're going to talk about some of the players that we list on here.
Paul will be 9 for 9. Let's just be
clear. I hope so.
Paul and I have talked about this a little bit. And like every time he's like, bam, bam, bam. Hey, I played with this guy in AAA, or hey, I crossed this path. And it's really impressive. I wanted other people to see how big a brain Paul has. And this is going to demonstrate it. This is a lot of
pressure. And so the other thing too with this game, kind of the baseball nerds, you try to get the lowest score possible. So when you pull up a person's name, it gives you a percentage. So if it was, for example, Seattle Mariners Gold Glove winner, you put Ken Griffey Jr. It's probably like 40% of the people who played picked that. So you get a 40% or 40 points. If you miss it entirely, you get 100 points. But if it's a random player that may have been a Gold Glover for the Mariners back in the day and you get it, Harold Reynolds comes to mind. It might be a lower score. So you're going for the lowest score, kind of like golf. All right, so we have a random number generator pulled up, and I'm just going to click this button. So it's set on 234, and that's just where it started. And we got number 322. So Immaculate Grid 322 is the one that we're going to do. So let's get to that one. All right, Brian. So we've got across the top Philadelphia Phillies in one column, 2,000 career strikeouts in another, 200 strikeouts in a season. Along the left column, we have the Minnesota Twins, Chicago White Sox, and Anaheim Angels. All right, so the first one that comes to mind for the Phillies with the Twins and White Sox is Jim Thome. He played for both. Then sometimes you have to kind of play the game like, oh, do I know other people who played for these teams, right? So
Jim Thome probably is the obvious answer. That may be the only one I would get out of this.
Okay. So we'll throw
Do you have
Tony.
another answer?
I can think through it. I'll figure something out here. So let's go Tony with the Phils and
Can you reuse the same name twice?
no, you cannot. So Tony for the Phils and Twins gives us a 32%. So Jim Tomey, he was my guy back in the day.
Mine
I
too.
absolutely loved him. He's the reason I started wearing my socks high. You remember that? That kind of became a thing.
And you did it all the time. Now, Paulie, we have them wearing them above the knee.
Yeah, it's a terrible look.
Above the knee, showing a little skin. I think it's atrocious.
Yeah, it's such a bad look. And then but Tommy, like I love the way like I would point my bat at the hitter or at the pitcher when I was hitting just like he would. I mean, I tried to mimic him. I kind of had a little open stance because I like he did it. So, I mean, he hit really well, so I thought I should do it too. But yeah, man. So Jim Tomey was my guy. Obviously, made his mark with the Cleveland Indians at the time, Guardians now. But yeah, had some time with the White Sox and Twins as well. But yeah, love Tomey, man. Loved it. And those '90s Indians teams were amazing. So, and he was a big part of that. So, so the next one for me for Phillies and Sox, something. So Dick Allen. Dick Allen played in the 60s and 70s. He's a 8% on here. So Dick, I read his book in high school.
Oh my gosh, dude!
He was one of the first guys to wear batting gloves. So he had some sort of hand injury, and would go to hit, and it would hurt, right? And so he was driving by a golf range one day, like a driving range, and saw like, hey, these guys are wearing batting gloves, or they're wearing these gloves, and like they're taking a lot of swings. And I think he was one of the pioneers. I read this book 30 years ago. If my memory is correct, though, he was one of the pioneers of using batting gloves in baseball.
Oh, it's incredible. It's funny you brought that up. I just saw the guy who started with football gloves, and it was because of an injury. And he saw a guy that was using like these certain gloves that were made out of Pakistan, went there, got the chemistry right that allowed for the ball to stick to this polymer that was put on the gloves. And so, yeah, it's, again, necessity out of injury, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, and batting gloves have come a long way, man. We've invested a lot into the old Bruce Bolt batting gloves recently with one of my daughters and my son. Man, those things are if you're a baseball player out there, those things are thick. They're like work gloves.
And I feel like Paulie, I feel like it's went full circle, right? When I was a kid, I was no batting gloves. Then I liked thin, and anything thick that had extra pad, even though I know it lasts longer. Man, I was not a fan of. And I feel like the Bruce Bolt guys literally took like construction gloves, like were the reinforced, and kind of just put a big wrap around it and charge $100 for them and say, hey, here you go. And what a marketing. They come really nice in their own little packaging. They kind of took a a little bit of the playbook from like Apple. They packaged their phones like it's a piece of gold coming out.
But nice, simple design. They have a lot of colors on there. The lightning bolt's cool. And it was actually like a teenage kid that started that.
Yeah,
like some teenage kids out of Texas. So, hey, kudos. I think the kid's name was Bear, I want to say.
Yeah, kudos.
Oh,
yeah.
Good job, kids. So let's bounce over here. 200 career strikeout season. Minnesota Twins. So we had let's see 2000 career. Let's go Johan Santana for that one. That's I think it's pretty obvious. Yep. 64% of people said Twins, Johan Santana. I mean, Cy Young winner, great changeup.
Yeah.
Just a dominant pitcher for a short time. And then 2000 career strikeouts. Jack Morris, man, pitcher of the 80s. Unheralded, but 22% there. Jack Morris will, in my mind, always be remembered for the 1991 Game 7 World Series, pitched 10 shutout innings for the Minnesota Twins. Yeah, went up against Smoltz, and then Charlie Liebrandt came in the 10th and gave it up a little bit, or gave up one run. But Jack Morris, man, I think just doesn't get the credit he deserves and respect he deserves. Just a great pitcher.
Hey, so I had his baseball card as a kid, and I've obviously given that stuff away. It was one of the ones Like I tend to agree. He doesn't get the respect he deserves because I was like, dude, why do I have it in like this special case? And why? And I'm sure my dad was like, dude, this guy's a stud. And that was the reason that it was in this case. But yeah, I had his baseball card back in the day.
Okay. So Phillies, Angels, a couple guys come up. This is a guy I played with or played against. The Flying Hawaiian, Shane Victorino,
Yeah.
the Flying Hawaiian. I played against him in Double A in 2002. He was with the Dodgers at the time. And I remember he was one of those guys, just kind of short, stocky, really, really fast, man. Could fly around the bases. And he was one of those guys when he got on the base paths, like just a menace you had to worry about. Something you had to really be intentional about. Quick slide step. I do remember one time I picked him off of second base. So I went up high. So with guys on second, you get a little higher leg kick. So a little higher leg kick. I did the old inside move, spun move on him, got him in a rundown, and we got him out there at second base. I do remember that specifically about. He was an aggressive base runner, man. Then had a really good career, played for a few teams, but one of those guys.
I remember him more as an outfielder. So he came up as a shortstop.
No. He was an outfielder. He was an outfielder.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's go. 2,000 career strikeouts.
With the Angels.
You got anybody in mind? I'm thinking of somebody.
Well, Nolan Ryan went there, didn't he? Wasn't he an Angel?
Well, bam, Brian. Let's do that. Nolan Ryan. I mean, got the most strikeouts of all time. So that's
yeah.
We're not doing great for low scores here. Nolan Ryan, 54% for the Angels. But obviously, I mean, I don't know what we can say about Nolan Ryan that everybody doesn't already know. Just 7 no-hitters, a billion strikeouts, pitched till he's like 75 years old. He probably still pitching out there, but man.
Never hurt until
that last one. Yeah, man. So Nolan Ryan is our 2,000 career strikeout. So White Sox, 2,000 career strikeout. Another guy I played against, Jake Peavy. Jake Peavy, 8% score. So came up with the Padres, played against him in 2001 and 2002 in the California League and in the Southern League. And man, you could see it at the time. The fellow was throwing hard, good breaking stuff. And you could even see it like in the minor, like a real competitor on the mound.
Yeah.
Like was out there just trying to just shove it up your butt and just kill you, man. He was tough, man. That 2001 Lake Elsinore Storm team, they had a staff, man. They had Jake Peavy, a guy named Ben Howard, Eric Sear was pitching on the team. A couple other guys that made it up real briefly. J.J. Trujillo kind of threw the frisbee sidearm guy. Another guy, Andy Shabilo, hit 100 on the gun one time. I played with him later on. A staff, dude, especially to deal with in high A ball. So, yeah, Peavy, but came up with the Padres, had some time with the Sox, and the Red Sox and White Sox both, and a couple other teams. But, all right, 200 career strikeout season for the White Sox. Who you got, Brian? Who you thinking?
Is that Burley?
I don't think Burley was much of a strikeout guy, man.
All right, you go with who you know. That's who I was thinking of.
That would be a risky one. I mean, we could. Yeah, we're not going Burley. I don't. We'll look that up in a second. I mean, here's again a pretty obvious. Chris Sale.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. 42%. Everybody else is thinking Chris Sale as well. But here's the thing about Chris Sale. You look at him pitch and you're like, man, it feels like a stiff breeze could knock this guy over. Doesn't it? Like that dude is thin.
Dude, his arm angle is so nasty, lefty on left. It makes the ball run. He is.
Yeah, tell me about that, Brian, from a left-hander's perspective. He kind of throws. He's long, has that low 3/4 ish.
That was definitely the hardest, and part of the reason, my kid was a natural lefty thrower, righty hitter. But if he'd have been lefty, guys like him are the reason you would like to be able to switch it, because it feels like it's coming out of right field. It feels like it's going to hit you, and then it ends up on the outside corner. I mean, those guys just fighting to keep that front side in and keep your bat in the zone long enough to have a chance at success. And then his slider was nasty. His fastball ran. I mean, he's still doing it today. Obviously had a short time with Boston, not a great ton of success there, and now with Atlanta, he's still doing it. Yeah.
All right. So our last category is Angels 200 strikeout season. I want I want to put in Jim Abbott, but I just didn't know if Jim Abbott did it. Yeah, just a great story. I'm going to put Mark Langston. I'm 99% sure he did. Oh, he didn't do it. We missed it.
Oh, can you correct?
No, it's done. We're done. We got 8 or 9. We missed it. I
That's
thought Mark
disappointing.
Langston had done it. I know he did with the Mariners several times, but I guess he didn't do it well enough for the Angels. So we'll have to go back and see. Let's see if we would have been right on the other side. Jim Abbott, Angels, strikeouts. No, he never did it either. So we were wrong. We were wrong either way. So we got a 334, not a great score. Missed one. That's super embarrassing. Let's see who the Angels' 200 strikeout season guys were. Chuck Finley was another guy that came to mind. John Lackey, maybe. Let's see.
Lackey, I'm sure is.
Okay, Shohei Ohtani, Jared Weaver, Urban Santana.
Oh gosh.
Chuck Finley a few times. Mike Witt, Nolan Ryan, who we already used. Frank Tanana. So we missed out. God, how
Hey,
embarrassing.
see where Burley was.
Let's see. So Brian wanted Mark Burley, who again was a great pitcher for a long time, but he was more of a ground ball guy. Most strikeouts, no, never had. Most in a season was 165. Yeah. So they do that for football and basketball and a couple other sports as well. I love doing it for baseball. Clearly an embarrassing day for me, 88%. I like having that perfect score, but we'll do better next time. So
Hey, thank you to our sponsor.
who's our sponsor?
These guys. What is it called again?
Immaculate Grid?
Yeah. Thank you
No,
to
they're not our sponsor. It's Baseball Reference. Baseball Reference does it, I think. So I don't think they're sponsoring, but they've got sponsors on their webpage clearly. So, man, that was good. So we're looking for sponsors though. If you want to be a sponsor of the Wright Stew podcast, let us know. We're out there reaching people all over the country. You know, we got the 50 and 15 challenge. So if you're national, we can reach people. If you're local to the kind of Raleigh area, we can do that as well. So we're happy to be a sponsor and share the information about your organization with others. So, hey, thanks for listening today. We appreciate it. Go out there and enjoy your day.
Out. Go Pack.